Happy New Year. This tea that I'm enjoying right now is my favorite from the Advent calendar, the Cupper Advent calendar that I enjoyed in December. It is a cranberry raspberry infusion. Just for your information, if you're also an enjoyer of tea or a warm beverage, along with your creative New Year's content. What are we up to today? We are having a slow and gentle January overall. My philosophy being it takes however long it takes to process the past year, the past month, the past whatever has occurred in order to get clear about what our intentions are going forward and to engage in action towards all of those goals. Not that we have to have a recreation of ourselves, a new year, new you, or any sort of dramatic changes, but it is nice to harness this time of transition, this liminal time. If you're here in real time between the years or at the beginning of the year, perhaps we still have some holiday to reflect, to rest, to recuperate, and digest, get clear, and declare. Once that's done, once we are complete and clear, we can declare what is up next. So as I was going through that process last year, I did declare a word of the year and made a little poem about it in my bullet journal right at the first spread here of my annual book. And at that point, I was using a Moleskine Cahier. That's a dot grid one for all my bullet journaling, and I ended up collaging quite wildly. It's part of sort of the mood and like a mood board or something like that in the winter, but feeling the light, seeing increasing light, seeing motivation, declaring what I was up to for the year of 2024, quantum leaps in store, into creativity, joy, and love galore. And it was. I hope that flipping through this annual book and my 24/24s helps me get greater clarity and also maybe inspires you to do some sort of reflection. How this has looked for me at the end of a year in different periods of time has developed a lot over time, has changed and evolved, you could say, from being very simple or not existent, inconsistent, I would say, to becoming increasingly consistent. And as I build more structures, it becomes easier and easier. It's still, I have to be completely honest, always a struggle to reflect and digest and look back. And sometimes I have a negativity bias. It's painful to look back at things that didn't work out how we had intended or declared or envisioned, whatever the case may be. But I find that the results of going through the process are overwhelmingly positive. I get to actually celebrate those wins that I had, realize the growth that I saw, and let go of things that are no longer serving me, including goals and actions, and really free me up to continue to live my dreams. So after that first page, we went into the index, which I think I still need to complete. I did a pretty good job of indexing, which is good because I ended up having a lot of different projects included in my annual book this year, including on the right-hand side, my 24/24s in 2024, inspired by Jashi Corin. I accomplished, or I'm willing to declare, some of these statistics are more personal than others, but willing to declare that I accomplished or reached 24 occurrences of 17 of the 24s. So I did at least 24, in many cases, many more of each of these activities, and of 17 of them, including books read, daily logs, a lot of my writing and creative practices, as well as my personal physical therapy, yoga, spiritual practices, my German learning and gratitude practice, teaching, posting, and practicing financial tracking and things like that. I feel pretty good about 1724s, and we'll be sharing in upcoming, well, declaring for myself and then sharing an upcoming video, and probably on Instagram, maybe on the YouTube channel and on the blog, what my 25s look like. And then I have my future log. I think I might put this in a different place actually in my annual book this year. I'm considering also for myself how I want to structure, but the future log is a key piece of the bullet journal method, and I really have found it super beneficial. I'm not perfect. I am still growing. I have a long way to go, to be honest, but so helpful in tracking longer term dates, appointments, celebrations, sort of holidays, things like that. So I'm definitely going to be migrating that over to a new annual book. Books read. I read 26 books in 2024, mostly fiction, a few real standout nonfiction books, and we'll be sharing what my top favorites of the year were in my annual review blog. But a few pieces of fiction that I particularly loved were The Guest by Emma Cline, In a Holidays by Christina Loren, the True Love Experiment series, Good Material by Dolly Alderton, Better Living Through Birding is the nonfiction highlight of the year by Christian Cooper, and also poems by Rumi. Age of Vice is another fiction pick. Sandwich by Catherine Newman. Sorry, Age of Vice was by Deepti Kapoor, and Sandwich by Catherine Newman maybe was the one I found the most touching. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart is a devastating suspense. And Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I keep a to be read on the right side. I think I'll do that in my upcoming spread as well. Did not nearly at all finish these, but it's nice to keep an eye on what sort of themes and topics I am working on reading. And I do a bit of nonfiction and inspirational reading every day. So some of these titles I work ahead on more slowly than others. But yeah, I'm an avid reader, but I don't feel like I need to read as many books as possible in a year. I do like to be reading consistently, but not necessarily speedily. So after reading comes writing. I did publish 30 articles to the blog last year, and I look forward to sharing some of my top favorites of those writings. And again, I have sort of to write, like to be read. I have also to be written, because there's always tons of more ideas and next things to write than I've got the bandwidth and the time for, but we migrate them. That brings us to email newsletters, of which I sent out 43. That's why I call it a roughly weekly email newsletter, because it's not every single week of every single year. It's more like weekly-ish with some holidays and breaks. And certainly not any spam. Yeah, I find the email a really wonderful way to connect one-on-one with the people who are most connected with my work, to keep people posted on when classes are coming up in the week ahead, important resources both by myself and also by many other creators. So if you find you like the sort of things or some of the topics that I like, you might want to join that email newsletter and see what I am sharing in there, everything first, and sort of a digest of everything that I'm sharing elsewhere. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Writing poems is also important to me, at least fragments, and all of these practices I would like to add have a certain minimum that I'm willing to accept in order to promote the consistency of the practice. So a minimum benchmark that no matter how stressed or ill or challenged my day may be, of course, I don't expect 100% either. I'm happy with 80 to 90% on any of these things, but I do try to find a minimum, that a sort of atomic habit, if you will, that keeps me going with that consistently so that I don't break my streak. and my little contributions build up to a lot. So in terms of poems, that's even poem fragments. I'll count that. Every day I write a poem fragment is a good day. And likewise, every day I send a letter or a card. I track that. I did, in the area of creation, publish 44 videos last year as well on the topics of dance, yoga, and living a joyful life. With writing, again, to be written, to be created in the area of videos. Choreographic, again, segments, phrases, acorns, bits. I hit over my, or some longer choreographies as well, but we're willing to, again, accept small pieces of improvisation and sharing, which I, as far as I know, as far as I tracked, made 46. Unfortunately, I haven't had the bandwidth in time for a podcast this year, but I'm glad that I've allowed other things to rise in priority, because I've found more growth and more engagement and more folks that seem to dig what I'm serving up in other platforms like on YouTube and through the blog. Sorry if you missed my podcast. I do too, but I just couldn't do it all. And it's not so important that I make, again, a maximum number, a high number of playlists, or I didn't actually practice any musical instrument this year. But I like to keep track of which playlists I'm creating, either new or engaging with and updating and changing, to see what music was important to me in that year. So here are those guys. I do track some of my personal, physical, spiritual practices like yoga, meditation, gratitude practices, my language, and also related practices I need to, or steps I need to take for living in Germany. So things like my work visa and my membership. Actually, that was a big one this year. A big win this year was gaining membership to the Artists Guild, so the Künstler Sozialkasse, and the Techniker Krankenkasse, which is the insurance, health insurance for Germany, and along with that to be paying sort of work insurance. I'm not sharing super detailed statistics. It feels somehow like an invasion of privacy to share all the deets of my clients and students and sessions and classes. But I can share that I was pleased to see growth in these areas this year, if not at the scale that I had hoped for, then certainly at an encouraging rate in all of the areas. So I'm feeling patient. I would love to see further, more, but also I'm satisfied and happy, and and encouraged, like I said, to see growth in my students and consistency of my students attending class, of some students actually, interestingly, in both studio classes, adult classes, kids classes, as well as online classes. I've had students return to me, so come back to class after taking an absence, whether they said they were quitting, needed more space, for whatever reason, had to discontinue, had conflicts and things, and they have returned. They found the space again, found the motivation, really missed moving and dancing, and are coming back. So I'd love to see that more in the coming year, as well as get to know more people that want to be mindfully moving, dancing with me. But we did see growth in that area this year. With regard to sharing, reaching out, connecting, not just creating products, but engaging with other folks, I've been tracking that goodness here. Social media on the right. Results, I would say, both the product and also who's engaging with it. And then on the left, the challenges that I participated in and also that I hosted this past year. We'll definitely continue with some of those sorts of projects, special workshops in the coming year, and keep you posted on all of that. In the area of sustainment, finances, business, I also can't share that much. Or it sort of violates privacy, I feel. I love when channels are that transparent. It's very interesting to me to see the nitty-gritty details, but I also respect people's various boundaries and personal restrictions. And so for me, I don't share a lot of those details, but some areas of development this year for me, again, I've been increasing the outreach and also growth, and also tracking. I've been working on profit first, pulling profit as well as my income, and tracking business expense categories. That's what this is about here. And planning, and just continuing to refine my financial sort of adulting area with each passing year. And that's what these pages are about, my various accounts and financial tracking. Of course, I also have spreadsheets and electronic documents for much of this, as well as appointments and adulting things for me include taking care of the cat, her deworming treatments, also paying certain taxes that have to happen at different parts of the year, and fees, memberships that have an annual payment that I want to make sure I'm on top of. Health and wellness, like dentists and preventive appointments, which it's been so nice to get back onto this year. Changing out contacts, toothbrush heads, regular stuff like that. And I was tracking, I'm not super great about this, but I was curious as to which things in my quest to be minimal and to not be over consuming, I mean. Hashtag underconsumption core, we could say, is one of the themes of the year. Which things I emptied, so things that I own that I finished up and either replaced, in some cases multiple times because they're my most commonly used products, or used it all up. Didn't do, of course, this is not complete, but it's an interesting reference as well. Maybe I'll continue to do some of that in the future. We shall see. Things like wish lists, which I don't really keep up to date on either, but it's interesting. A more distant future log, which I'll put with my future log next year. I keep track of travel and adventures, little getaways, places I'd like to see. And in this annual book, I had some beautiful moments recording special excerpts from my readings and inspirations. Another project spread is this Kanban board inspired by Sarah Cannon Heart Breathings. I see so much value in this, but I haven't necessarily used it consistently. The idea being that I could track the articles I'm writing, the videos that I'm creating from step to step, from the sort of recording, writing, generating, capturing phase through to the editing and uploading and on to the publishing and promoting. So a useful tool. I just have to see about actually implementing it with so many moving parts. It's an adventure. And the Profitable Content System is a book I bought last year and was working my way through, still working on it, but found that useful. The Yoga Visibility Challenge I engaged in early last year. Some more notes and favorite quotes. I did Judith Peta's Sichtbarkeits Explosion or Visibility Explosion. Participated in Eating Disorders Awareness Week as a collaborator, which I'm definitely planning to do again in 2025. On that low consumption, minimal side, I was tracking unnecessary spending for a while till August. And then, funnily enough, coincident with my new hobby of discovering that I love fountain pens and inks, I stopped tracking that spending. Whoops. Still an interesting practice. Definitely good to be mindful of where our investment, where our money is going. Some deep cleaning. This is incomplete. I thought it was a good idea, but housekeeping stuff is really not. I mean, it's an all-in-one catch-all, my bullet journal, but I don't keep every little chore. More like deep cleaning or decluttering types of projects I find most useful. And Camp NaNoWriMo was another project. And then we get into my review of 2025. At the back, I've got some emergency information, some holiday brainstorming. Ooh, things to pick up when I'm at home next. Dance ground rules that I like to refer to. That's why they're in the annual book, because I like to refer to them regularly in classes. And a little poem I wrote as a sun salutation poem for kids. I've got also in the annual book here a big exploration of colors, pencils, pens, various pens that I've been using, both ballpoint pens, which I used to use for my morning pages and everything, and then, as we know, moving into the fountain pen world. At the back, I had a couple last collections. My Dance Daily December spread, tracking every single little choreography I shared for that project of my creation. And some of my favorite Christmas music, wintry music that I enjoyed this season, going from the end of December into the beginning of January. So happy they continue to celebrate December. We'll celebrate Christmas outside of December, so into January, all the way up to Epiphany in Germany. And I resonate with that because I want to bask in that magic as long as I can and ease my way into this fresh new year, taking time, including time like this, to collect all of my statistics and assess results. I can't believe it is already time to assess the results of this year. I truly cannot. But I'm deeply grateful for everyone who's been a part of my 2024 and all that I was able to experience, all the beauty that presented itself, the people I was able to interact with, and mostly such positive ways here in Germany and also in the places I was lucky enough to get to visit. Yeah, and in the coming days, I'll continue to process this past year, to write my reflections, and to release my actions, and recommit, redeclare what I'm up to, a new word of the year, projects, and a new annual book set up. Here's the new annual book. I've got some papers assembled for creating some collaging there and penciling in some spreads. So much to look forward to. It is a wild time, a lot of things to contend with, to digest, to grieve, to process about the past year, and also maybe our fears, worries, anxieties about the coming year. So once again, I encourage you to be gentle with yourself, take your time, and I'm curious to hear what your major projects of the year past were and how that went, what you are declaring for the upcoming year, and how I can support you with that. I will look forward to being in community with you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again soon. Take good care until then.